down to the match, right? Because if I don't stop talking, I'll
We're
just
already
go forever.
getting. It's already a long day, man.
Oh, I know. I've been here the whole time. All right, both these teams at 5-1-1. Another draw here is a death knell for both. So you got to imagine that's on these players' minds. They're going to be playing pretty crisp and clean, fast Magic here, except for Ross Merriam.
Shuffle quickly, Ross.
Who's going to shuffle until his fingers bleed.
Merriam on the play. Snow-covered island, Arkham's Astrolabe. Boggemes will start with Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time is just so good. Every time I have it in my opening hand, it's just so good.
Find the Eternal Witness.
Then when it's not in your opening hand, it's so bad.
What's this? What's like the worst miss? You ever like had a no lander and missed your land off Once Upon a Time?
No.
I think I've done that one.
I always hit it.
That's smart.
I have missed on Llanowar Elves exactly 3 times when I needed to hit a Llanowar Elves. I know, because it hurt. You're dead.
Finals of PTQs all 3 times?
Twice. No, just the once.
That
but
stings.
Still, it was bad. It hurt. A mono green mirror, too.
Oh, yikes. So Boggemes shocked to 18 for a Temple Guard and a Noble Hierarch. Turn 2 for Ross Merriam, Snow-Covered Mountain, and Ether Spellbomb. Not the most explosive Urza stuff we've seen today.
No. It's also possible that Boggemes is actually a little thrown off by the mountain because people basically stopped playing, the Chief Engineer package with Thopter Sword, and there's not a whole lot of reasons to play red in the main deck other than that.
Boggemes is going to fetch up a Hallowed Fountain to 15, attempt a turn 2 Oko, and that will get Metallic Rebuked. Good catch with Merriam there. That turn 2 Oko can be a real problem.
Yeah. So this Devoted Druid deck that Kyle Boggemes is playing, is it really interactive and stuff? Like the Okos, do they help you win like a good, fair game of Magic? Or
They attack sometimes.
Okay. So the rest of the deck is, there's like Path to Exiles and stuff, right? There's things that kill creatures so that your Oko just gets, no, there's not. Just stop looking at the deck.
There's 2 in the sideboard.
There's 2 in the sideboard, you're right.
Yeah.
A rare occasion.
I figured you were setting me
There is
up
actually one
to
in the
say
main
that they
deck,
weren't
too.
interacting, but
Yes.
my knowledge of green and white decks off the top of my head, you gotta understand, is extremely limited. All I know is I Lava Dart their creatures and they die.
That's fair. They try to chump block, and yet you have crashed through.
I see 7 of their cards in a given game, and then their life total is 0.
Yeah.
Scalding Tarn is land number 3 for Ross Merriam, and Gilded Goose joins the party. Cast off of the Astrolabe.
The joke here was that literally any deck that has blue and green cards in it can just play Oko, and it is a viable win condition.
By joke, I believe you meant format.
I did mean format. You're not wrong. That's the format. Boggemes here, land number 3. It's a Rage Rush ticket, so no damage taken.
Finale of Devastation.
That's a hot one. Going to go get his combo creature, Devoted Druid. Roz actually has an onboard way to stop the combo via Ether Spellbomb. Let's see if he wants to pop that here to kind of reset the Devoted Druid so that it doesn't get to untap just yet.
Saw a decent amount of Devoted Devastation at the Players' Championship, and you saw a good amount of Devoted Druids getting turned into Elk. Rough going out there for a Devoted Druid.
The problem with Devoted Druid is that you got to untap with it. And if you don't untap with it, it doesn't make infinite mana. Unless you postmortem lunge it. How many postmortem lunges are in this list? That's a big fat 0.
I think that's more stock to not play it.
I agree. Well, the versions that play Oko plan on potentially having the alternate win condition of attacking your opponent to death. It looks like Ross is just going to go ahead and use those Galvanic Blasts, and those are looking pretty nice right here. Galvanic Blast also a great way to fight the mirror match, killing Urza or Imri.
Oh, my.
What?
I was about to comment.
Why didn't you tell me that was in the deck?
That Ross is pretty low on resources, but Mock
juicy.
Sopal Experimental Frenzy. Sacrifice food, cast Gilded Goose off the top, food replaces itself, Misty Rainforest is land for turn.
They can fetch to reset?
We are off to the races.
Did they break it?
Crack Misty Rainforest.
You didn't answer my question.
If they broke it?
Did they break it?
Well, we're going to find out.
Oh
We're watching.
my.
We're watching.
Oh, my.
kind of a funny.
With all the Urza mana?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once an Urza shows up, this is going to be a mess. So Experimental Frenzy, this card saw quite a bit of standard play before rotation. The red deck's a little sour right now.
I'm back on board, baby. Modern rules.
4-mana enchantment. You can look at the top card of your library at any time, and you can play that, but you can't play cards from your hand.
Oh my god, they have Mox Amber too. I love it.
Yeah, Mox Amber off the top. No legends just yet, but one will show, I'm sure. And then the Frenzy can destroy itself for 4 mana. Sometimes you got to do that.
All right, which member of Team BCW do you think figured this out?
Ely.
Concur.
This has Ely Kassis written all over it.
Oh, yeah. Take a stock deck, tweak it by 8 cards, just blow up everybody in the tournament with it. Oh, yeah.
And it's a card that is in bounds, that people play it in other decks or definitely know what it does, but he's the first person to put it in that deck.
Yep. And here we have Deputy Detention, which is a kind of answer, except Ross does have the Ether Spellbomb at the ready. Let me just look at this. Let me just look at this deck list and see all the goodies. I was actually hoping there was another Ether Spellbomb because it's important that a lot of your cards are just able to be cast easily with the Experimental Frenzy on the battlefield. Ross here thinking about whether or not to bounce the Deputy EOT just so he gets another Experimental Frenzy turn. I love that idea. I love doing it.
Big fan of Frenzy turns, and Ross agrees.
Especially when you have all of your mana untapped. That 1 mana that he doesn't use could be all the difference. Though it does unlock the card drawn for turn, so maybe it was worth waiting the 1 turn.
Starts with the land. You don't love that, but at least it's a fetch land. It's a Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, fetch lands seem unbelievable with Experimental Frenzy. I'm so in. I want to play this now.
And here's Oko. You still in?
Man. I am, honorary in still. Because I'll just cut the Okos.
And Mishra's Bobble. That Oko is turning on that Mox Amber as well.
Okay, maybe I have to keep the Okos. I did play Oko in a Vintage League the other day, and I didn't feel that bad about it because my opponents were casting Yawgmoth's Will and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
Ancestral Recall.
I think that's fair,
Black
right?
Lotus, yeah.
If your opponent's got an Ancestral Recall, you can play like 2 Okos.
Yeah,
in your
do whatever you want.
In Modern, though, no.
Some of your opponents are just playing 4 Mishra's Workshop, all right? You got to do what you can.
I played against Dredge 3 times. I won a game 1 somehow. I don't know how that happened. It was pretty great. Most of the time I won by Leyline of the Void plus Flusterstorm, though.
It's a combo.
Yeah.
So Merriam did reset the library with Scalding Tarn. We'll see if he landed on one he can cast.
Looks like he's looking to tap some mana here, and I don't think he's activating Gilded Goose.
So backup Mox Opal is going to float a mana, cast Mox Opal off the top. And these Opals and these Ambers let you cut some lands, so you get stuck on the Frenzy left often. Green mana was floated off that first Mox Opal. Looks like a food's being made. That's not too exciting. Oko still yet to be activated.
They really got to ban like 6 cards in this format. I know you don't like talking about bans that much. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, this is the format I agree with you on. I kind of don't like Modern a lot right now, and I usually am one of Modern's biggest fans.
Same. When I first started streaming full-time, I actually played only Modern for, I don't know, basically the first 2 months. It's a great format, usually.
Yeah. Well, I typically find that Modern is a good format for innovation, and that's true if you want to iterate the Oko deck right now. And
Yeah.
that's about it.
I think my biggest problem is that you can look at any of the top decks in the format, and they all have a pretty awesome-looking engine that does some pretty cool stuff that's partially interactive but mostly linear, right? And then they just all play Oko. Just every one of them plays Oko. Because it's so easy to splash, because you're already playing either green or blue, because they're 2 of the most powerful colors, because they offer mana acceleration and card advantage. And then Oko is just a perfect fit because it's on curve and it just never dies. Answers problematic permanents from the opponent, gains life against the burn decks pretty easily, and gives you a win condition that costs 0 mana for the rest of the game.
All right, so we've had some pretty big game actions happen. So Merriam Elkstralabed knocked Boggemes to 12. Boggemes' turn redeploys the Deputy Attention, grabs Oko, leaves Frenzy behind because he has another Devoted Druid.
Okay. No, I like it. So there's a chance that Kyle actually untaps next turn and wins the game. Depends on whether or not Ross can find some more interaction here or find some sort of combo of his own to close the game out.
So Misty Rainforest was the first hit. Now cast Arkham's Astrolabe. If there's an instant on top, he could cast that with the draw trigger on the stack.
Right, if it's Galvanic Blast, which it is.
Ooh.
What a heater.
Takes down the Deputy, easily metalcrafted.
Yep.
Oko's back.
Yep, and now he gets to look at the top card again, still with the draw on the stack. He's going to draw it for turn. A lot of card selection. And at any point he chooses, he can just sacrifice the Experimental Frenzy for 4 mana and unlock the rest of his hand. This is just going so well
Here's
for
another
Ross.
4.
Oh,
There's
my
Urza.
God.
Now he is going to be running away with a ton of mana.
Yeah, and this is
Bunch
over.
of food tokens over there. Boggemes has seen enough.
That is the look of a man who did not plan to face off against Experimental Frenzy today.
Yeesh. I just came here to play games.
Not long games, but games.
All right, players going to sideboard for Ross Merriam.
A definitive win.
Yeah, absolutely. A runaway there in game number 1. Going to the sideboard, he has 3 Anger of the Gods, 3 Blood Moon, 3 Veil of Summer, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Mystical Dispute, an Ashiok Dream Render, and a Disdainful Stroke.
Seems like the perfect matchup for Anger of the Gods. One of the reasons why it's in the sideboard, I'm sure. The Devoted Devastation deck was a huge part of the Players' Championship, and you can expect that the first Modern tournament of the year is going to feature some number of that card, and I think that deck is actually decent against you. That's partially the reason why the Galvanic Blast are in the main deck, and it's definitely the reason why Anger of the Gods is in the sideboard. So those definitely coming in. As far as the rest of the sideboard, nothing really stands out to me other than maybe Ashiok Dream Render because it shuts off those tutor effects, Eldamar's Call, Court of Calling, etc. But it is relatively vulnerable to just getting attacked down by some of those smaller creatures because Ross doesn't actually have a lot of defense for them. But I probably would still bring it up. So those 4 come in.
Sideboard for Boggemes, 3 Veil of Summer of his own, 2 Burnt and Forged Tender, 2 Gaddock Teague, 2 Path to Exile, 2 Unified Will, a Dismember, another Oko, a Mirror Crusader, and a Mystical Dispute.
If I'm Boggemes, probably bringing in Veil Summer. Protects against the Oko poofs as well as the counterspells. Excuse me. Other than that, though, the Path to Exiles are okay against, Urza and Imri, but you don't really want to give them the extra land. But if you don't have that much interaction, sometimes you just need to do it. The Dismember does fill that role quite nicely, so I expect the Dismember to come in and maybe not the Paths. But would not be surprised if all 3 came in.
All right. Happy New Year to everybody watching. This is our first show of 2020, and in Season 1, we got a bunch more stops coming up.
Ooh.
Next weekend, we'll
Knoxville.
be in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Give me some hot chicken.
January 11th and 12th. That's going to be a Modern Open. Todd and I will be there.
Oh, yeah.
Then next stop after that will be in February, the 1st and 2nd in Richmond. To be determined, and a number of these are to be determined. Sorry, I'm hearing it's team constructed from Rob. So we actually have the formats for all these, so I'm going to pause a little bit as Rob fills me in as I go. Or does Todd just know them?
Oh, no, I was just going to say we can just tell them where we're going, and then you can check the website.
Well,
StarCityGames.com.
we will
if you
have
go to StarCityGames.com/schedule, I guarantee it'll tell you every one of
But
these.
I would like to tell them here as well.
Okay. All right, Rob.
February 8th and 9th, it's Philadelphia, and that's also team constructed. So that's going to be, what do we do? Is that still
my
Standard
Pioneer?
Modern Legacy? Standard Pioneer Modern. 3 good formats. Indianapolis, February 22nd and 23rd. That's going to be Pioneer.
Hell yeah!
Oh.
That's the one I'm going to. I'm going for completely unrelated reasons, but I just get to play Pioneer.
All right, and then looks like 2 more Pioneer Opens. After the March 7th Regional Championships, those will be Modern. In March 14th and 15th, we're in Baltimore. And in March 21st and 22nd, we're in Syracuse. Those are for Pioneer Opens as well. These ones are to be determined. So April 4th and 5th, we're in Atlanta. 25th and 26th, Worcester. May 2nd and 3rd, back in Ohio and Cincinnati that time. 23rd and 24th of May, Louisville. May 30th and 31st, it's going to be Philadelphia, and that's going to bring us to the SCGCOL Summer, featuring the Season 1 Invitational. That's June 11th to 14th, back at Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah, SCGCON, always a wonderful time. Honestly, when I was there for November, just like back to visit and play the tournament, it was such a fun experience, just hanging out with everybody and playing such a huge event with so much prize on the line. Not only that, Command Zone was bumping. There were just dozens and dozens of people over there playing pickup games. Artists Alley, just tons of people getting your card signed and things like that. It felt like no offense, it felt like a real convention, and it is. But I mean, a lot of times you go to a Magic tournament on the weekend, and they'll be at a convention center. It doesn't really feel like your con experience. It's not a lot of places to pick up.
You go, you play the main events,
yeah.
You leave.
Right. But SCGCON legitimately feels like a convention. Video game area, which is really cool. A lot of times, they don't always have it, But being able to just do all the cool stuff at SCGCON is always a good time. And, of course, the people,
Oh, yeah.
There's so many people that come out for SCGCON that wouldn't normally come out to every tournament,
Looks like in our middle table, same matchup, same outcome. Kassis up a game over Sulaiman. But 1 point for Dykman over Soorani there. So 2-1 in BCW favors currently.
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience playing these Urza decks. Eldrazi is problematic, especially an early Chalice the Void on 0, shutting down Mox Open Mishra's Bobble.
So you said we're not covering Indianapolis?
No, we're not.
Sick.
You should come.
It's like kind of drivable.
We're going to get lit. And not drunk. I mean, like, we're going to have a blast.
I've been casting some light up the stages in Pioneer.
You could light up some stages.
I got a draw on Magic Online this week.
Did you charge somebody?
No.
Did you Eidolon both of you?
So I was round 5 of the league playing for 5-0.
Oh, that's not possible. I don't know.
And I'm playing this red deck. It's got some Chain Whirlers, it's got some Soulscar Mage. This is the kind of stuff I do. I'm playing against Mono Black, and they cast the big demon, the one that does 1 to both players in each upkeep.
Nice.
And they attack me down to 1, and then on my turn, I'm 1 shy of lethal, so I get them down to 1, and then the demon just makes the game a draw.
Cool.
And Magic Online rolls up and says, "Good game, it's a draw." But I ended up winning that one 2-1-1, got the trophy.
Yeah. I don't have many unintentional draws in my history of Magic, but I have like 2 or 3 because of the card Char. Just deal 4 to a target and 2 to yourself. I'm just like, well, I'm at 2, and you're at 4 or less. I'm going to die if I don't.
Right.
Next one.
Didn't register this card to not play it.
Right. So earlier you were like, oh, a point to Steven Dykman because he won his first game. And Ross was regaling Hila Kassis with one of the classic Ross Merriam Magic stories where he just literally explains an entire game of Magic. I don't know if you've been caught in the Ross storm.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to get
Director
Ross.
Rob is laughing because he's gotten Ross Merriam quite a few times.
So correct tournament etiquette. You ask someone how'd the round go. They said they won or they lost. If something really unique happened, you get 30 seconds to explain it.
Yeah.
Ross Merriam starts by saying, all right, we sat down. Opponent rolled a 7. I rolled a 6. Pretty unlucky, but it was a hard 6, double 3s. So I felt good about that. Yeah. And then just tells you every action of every turn.
You should have kept going. You should have just kept going. Just made up an entire match of Magic. That was so good. It was so good. Now, what I like to refer to Ross as the time thief, because not only does he steal time from you by regaling you with not the highlights. He doesn't go over the highlights.
No.
Goes over the entire game and every decision he thought about. Right? Never talks about how long you take shuffling. Actively avoids talking about how long you take shuffling. One time he kind of blew up at me. He's just like, look, most people don't randomize their deck enough. And I said, you're right. But also, there's probably a middle ground. This ain't it. I called my friend Chief, got him on the phone. He said
it wasn't it.
Sorry, this one is not quite it.
That's not it. Signed, Chief.
Yeah.
Boggemes on the play this time. Fetches up a Temple Garden to 17. Leads on Noble Hierarch. Is Merriam doing the busted thing? He's got a snow-covered island, a bobble, and an
Turn
opal.
one, Emery.
And there's Emery.
And all he needs now is engineered explosives, and then the game is basically over, unless Boggemes can find some of his interaction to get the Emery off the battlefield. He's going to need a Dismember, a Path to Exile, something like that. But that all is predicated on whether or not Ross finds that powerful artifact engineered explosives.
Let's see what Boggemes can do. The scripted ideal turn 2, get your Devoted Druid online, try to win on turn 3. So there's Windswept Heath, and there's Devoted Druid. Merriam will bobble Boggemes.
Do you think this deck would just win a bunch more matches if it just played 4 Blossoming Defense in the main deck? Or do you think that would just be hot cabbage?
I think now that they're not playing Collected Company, there's more of an argument for it.
I agree with that. Because they don't really have a plan B. Like, they kind of have Oko as a plan B. And I guess because of the card Oko Thief of Crowns, maybe you can justify it.
Yeah.
But, like, holy crap. It feels so bad to have your Devoted Druid get killed. And that's one of the reasons why, like, Postmortem Lunge has seen some play in these decks before Oko was printed and a little bit after. But,
Okay, so Emery is going to bring back Arkham's Astrolabe. Merriam will draw another card. Plays Scalding Tarn his land for turn. Fetches. Does he have the Galvanic Blast?
he needs some piece of interaction here to kill this Devoted Druid, or else there's a threat of infinite mana and death on the following turn from Boggemes.
It's like shocking for a breeding pool.
Well, he does have the Astrolabe, so he may want the green now or the red now, and then
Could also
worry
be
about it later.
Goose turning on Opal.
Yeah, Goose turning on Opal into Galvanic Blast also plays. Could also just be casting other stuff. They don't have that much interaction. You know, sometimes you just got to hope for the best. Ross did mulligan this game. Might have had a turn on Emery and been like, hey, if I find the explosives, the game's over. And he's probably not wrong. But he's also probably dead.
So it was Gilded Goose, made of food, and is just passing. Let's see if Boggemes can assemble a combination. He'll fetch end step down to 16.
All right, can I say a thing that like 4 people are going to get?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to explain it slightly before I say it, right? Because I'm probably going to end up saying it at some point in the broadcast. Not going to make any sense if I do it, if I don't give it any pretext. There's a comedian. I even forget the name. It was like an old like Comedy Central thing or whatever. And he's just talking about how much he just like hates Jack Black and how he's gonna like just go to his house and murder him, and he just like tells a story about it, right? As a joke. And then he just busts out, "Hey Jack Black, you're dead! You're gonna die!" And so every time someone's about to die, I just think about that. Right? Brainworms. That's what I got. So if I say it, Jack Black, you're dead.
It's been a long day, buddy. So I'm going to pretend you just didn't say any of that.
All right,
Just not a single thing that you just said.
Okay.
You're going to stop telling that story.
Jack Black, you're going to stop.
You're done talking, Todd.
All right, fine. All right. So I'll call the match now. You can be the color commentator.
Ooh, sick.
Boggemes here gets untapped. Cast Eladamri's Call. Going to go for the infinite mana. Let's see if Merriam has some piece of interaction.
See, Eladamri's Call is a powerful card because most of your creatures are just the creature as printed on the card, but this one can find any of them.
Ooh, and if you have a combination of 2 different ones, what happens, Ryan?
Well, you see, one of them allows you to generate mana, and the other one allows you to make that number infinite.
That's an interesting thing to say. Can you expound upon what makes these 2 cards so powerful? What does infinite mana actually do for you, Ryan?
Well, in and of itself, you pass the turn. You don't really do anything. But that's where your other cards come into play.
Oh, there are other cards in this infinite mana deck?
It's a 60-card deck with a 15-card sideboard. All the conclusions that actually pay off are in the main deck,
All
though.
right, let's go over them one by one, shall we?
Yeah, let's
First
take a
and
look.
foremost, there's Temple Garden.
What
does that one do?
That
Does that
one
one
is
do anything?
neither a
you have
creature
infinite mana?
nor a combo piece.
Oh, man, this job's really hard. You're really good at leading me into, like, important actual conversations.
So,
Instead of talking about Jack Black. You know? And that's the end of that tangent. Let's talk about the match.
All right, so here's infinite mana. We'll see what Boggemes has for it. There's Dr. Watch Recruiter. So now Boggemes gets to just show the whole deck, 3 cards at a time. Well, 1 card of 3 at a time. Looking for creatures, looking for Walking Ballista.
It's funny. I'm pretty sure Dustwatch Recruiter actually lets you stack the 3 cards. So as long as you don't like actually change any order of your deck when you pick it up, you actually, I think if you announce that you're going to do it a bunch of times, you can just pick your deck up.
Yeah, it's the old Viscera Seer trick.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but Ross, I'm pretty sure, was just like, hey, show me the Ballista.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
You're not trying to get me.
Yeah.
He didn't board out Walking Ballista.
Yeah. Boggemes there does take a quick game number 2 there against Ross Merriam, showing just how powerful his deck can be. A turn 3 kill made it look easy. Made it look really easy, actually.
Top tables go into game number 3 as well.
That's good that Soorani was able to even it up against Eldrazi in what I consider to be a relatively bad matchup. As bad as a matchup can be in a format where you're playing by far the best deck.
Yeah.
With honestly a pretty great build of the best deck, if you ask me.
The matchups where Chalice on 0 is effective, those ones can be pretty lopsided for Eldrazi. This one is a bit unique in that regard, as it has a very mana curve beyond that.
Now, one interesting thing to note about these Temur versions is they do get to play 3 copies of Blood Moon in the sideboard, or 4 if they choose. But these guys are all playing 3. Blood Moon is very good against Eldrazi. In fact, it's really good against the matchups in the format that you actually kind of have some problems with on occasion. You know, your Primeval Titan decks occasionally give you some problems. Otherwise, hell, why would anybody play Primeval Titan if it was bad against the best deck in the format, right? But Eldrazi specifically gets hammered by Blood Moon because they can't even cast the colorless spells that require actual colorless mana. They only get red. Even though they're a colorless deck, Blood Moon just hoses them. Now, they do sometimes have All Is Dust or Ugin to unlock, but, you know.
So we're early here in Season 1 on the SCG Tour in 2020, but before you know it, we're going to be back in Roanoke for the Invitational, and before that happens, you're going to want to try to hit a local Star City Games Invitational qualifier so you can earn your seat, and we'll see you out at SCGCon. And these are just good events in general.
Man, look at that rad playmat. Holy.
Very cool, unique art there. $1,000 in cash going to the top 8. Qualify for the Invitational. Get some SCG points. Maybe try to earn a buy or 2. Get that gorgeous top 8 playmat.
Okay, I have a question. That's Sleeping Beauty, right? That's like the dress that she wears?
I believe it is an homage to Sleeping
Sure,
Beauty.
just like, crystal slippers, glass. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? Everything's slightly different.
And stupid Reach Creature is Robin Hood.
No way.
Robber of the Rich. Yeah.
That's Robin Hood?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together on that one. Anyway, the cool thing, if you can get your hands on them, Star City Games makes this awesome food token.
Yes.
It's just that poison apple. Just that exact poison apple that's in the playmat right now.
There's a card in one of the Brawl decks that has Skull Apple art, too. It's like destroy 3 creatures, make 3 food tokens or something for 6 mana.
Okay.
I think that's the text box. I literally own it, but I don't know what it is.
I remember that card during preview season and have never seen it since.
The art's cool.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I don't think Rob's gonna find it, and I have no idea what the card's called. It's in the Corvold deck.
There's one guy furiously tweeting at me. This is the card, and here's a picture of it, and I don't care.
Oh, you're lucky if it's one. You're lucky if it's only one.
Look, Twitter's been really interactive with me today. Whenever I'm wrong, they let me know. Did
they'll
you know
do
that Mishra's Bauble is not in the top 5 most expensive uncommons in Modern? It's actually 9th.
You ever read the webcomic? Are you familiar with the webcomic XKCD?
Yes, I love XKCD.
There's this one where some man just kind of up late at night, clearly troubled, should be asleep. Significant other, honey, what's wrong? It's like, gonna be a late night, honey. Someone is wrong on the internet.
Yes, I do recall that one. I love that one.
We could all learn a lot from that webcomic. Go spend time with your family.
Yeah.
Stop tweeting at anybody for any reason.
No, look, this is fine. Okay? This is part of my job. And they choose to interact with me. Any interaction is good interaction.
Whoa. Whoa.
And if it's not good, I block them.
Oh, yeah. I love a good block.
And also, sometimes I do genuinely ask, because I'm curious, right? And
Yeah,
they responded
yeah,
in
yeah.
a positive way. And this person was not being rude.
Clearly, I'm being
They actually
hyperbolic.
they just listed, right.
You know.
But I just want to be, I don't want anybody to be like, well, if they don't want me tweeting it, I'm not going to tweet it. No, please. I need more content. This is a great story. Okay? But it's actually ninth, and I wanted to point out that they included the card. I don't. If I say it, okay, Gemstone Mine is technically an uncommon. The same
from
way,
Weatherlight.
the same way that Wasteland is technically an uncommon, in that when it was originally printed in the first printing, it was uncommon.
So Gemstone Mine is a time-shifted printing.
It
doesn't have a rare printing, right?
It's not.
It's a Judge promo,
Yep.
Weatherlight uncommon.
Yep, and plane shifted.
And then time-shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, calling that one an uncommon, I think, is I would go for a list that excluded it. I'll word it that way.
Yeah. No, that was my reply was, come on, Gemstone Mine doesn't count. I also had the caveat.
They show you a list where it's like firmly in ninth, and you're like, okay, but that one doesn't count.
Right. So it's in the top 8. It's fine.
Yeah.
I might have even said top 8. I don't remember. I think I said top 5, though. Anyway, what I really want to say is that this is also taking into consideration that the card is cut in half in the last couple of months because it got reprinted.
Iconic Masters.
Right. So when it was only a Cold Snap, that card jumped up to like $30, $40.
Yeah, I think it was 40 for a minute.
That is egregious for a card that is only uncommon. And even in the reprintings, it's only uncommon. Unlike Gemstone Mine, random guy. So take that.
Right. Ross Merriam starting us off for game number 3. Snow-Covered Island, Arkham's Astrolabe, Mox Amber.
You may wonder why I talk about random stuff all the time. It's because of Ross Merriam shuffling. Just want to make that very clear.
You got to fill that time.
What else am I supposed to do?
You got to fill that time.
6 minutes.
We have a rider in our contract. If there is more than 30 seconds of silence while explicitly Ross Merriam is shuffling, that our pay is impacted.
Positively impacted. No.
Giver of Ruins is a turn 1 for Boggemes off of Snow-Covered Plains.
Now that one plays here, right? Because Giver of Runes traditionally, it can't protect itself. So there's no real rush for Ross to kill the Giver of Runes. Unlike Mother of Runes, where if you ever let it untap and you're an interactive deck, the game usually ends on the spot. Here, Ross can kill the Giver of Runes at basically any point, and that'll allow him to untap and then kill the Devoted Druid if he has 2 pieces. The problem is the deck actually doesn't have that much interaction. And a lot of the interaction actually is going to come from Engineering Explosives or Emery rebuying an Engineering Explosives. So I'm curious to see how this plays out.
Speaking of Engineered Explosives, Miriam's going to fetch to 19 to make an Explosives on 2 off of Mountain Island. Meanwhile, Ely Kassis clean 2-0 over Raja Sulaiman. Meanwhile, these 2 games are in 3. One more win for BCW, though, and they'll be up to 6-1-1.
Yeah, 5-2-1, not really a record you want when 7-2 is guaranteed for day number 2. So these players fighting almost maybe for their tournament life this round, depending on how the cutoff goes in a few rounds.
Devoted Druid go for Boggemes off of a snow-covered forest.
Now Ross has the answer on the battlefield with the Engineering Explosives, but it does cost him 2 mana. If he has something here like Mox Opal into Urza, that would be ideal.
And he'll just go ahead and fire off using the explosives, cast Mox Opal, and pass.
Now playing the Mox Opal does turn on the Mox Opal for blue, so he can actually play something like Metallic Rebuke here, but could also use that to cast Galvanic Blast or something to take care of the Giver of Runes. And that would unlock future spot removal or Oko activations.
Boggemes really leaning into that luxury Karnak's chair as he weighs over this third turn.
Oh, my God. It was seamless. Talk about my plugs. Good Lord. You know where else you can find a Karnak's chair? Karnox.com/SCG, 10% off.
That's a fact.
I hope they're watching. I hope they're like, man, this guy gets it. This guy's pretty good at selling chairs. I'm going to be a door-to-door Karnak's chair salesman.
Door-to-door chair salesman.
Yeah. Hey, you want to have a seat? Here's a chair. I brought one with me.
Yeah, you know, you go into their home and they offer you a seat and you say, no,
I brought my
own. It's nicer than yours.
30 minutes later, you put it together and you're like, here it is. Here's my seat that I brought. No Baharaks to play here from Boggemes. That one's not too threatening, but let's see what the rest of the turn entails.
Yeah, fires off a windswept heath. Life total showing 17, so I guess he said he was shocking.
That's probably fair. Breeding pool or some such.
Temple Garden. Some such it were.
Well, wanted green. Could have gotten a basic forest. Double check that he has 2. Just has the 1, so it does have to shock to be able to cast 2 green spells here. Makes sense. If you're going to fit blue, it's hard to fit all those basics. Now here's an interesting play. This Dustwatch Recruiter from Boggemes could start generating some card advantage, and if Ross's draw is really interactive and not that focused on doing degenerate stuff himself, the card advantage could potentially put Kyle ahead in the race here, but it is very mana intensive. It's usually just in the deck as a way to churn through once you have infinite mana to find Walking Ballista. Why they don't just play more Walking Ballistas, I'll have no idea.
I know that you used to be able to company into the recruiter, but now that we've moved away from that, the value has certainly gone down.
I guess a 2/2 Ballista for 4 mana is not that exciting either. And the prospect of a Dustwatch Recruiter against some of these other decks might be pretty good.
So there's another explosives. This one's on 1. Takes care of Giver and Noble Hierarch, as well as the Astrolabe for Merriam. So kind of Stone Rained himself for that one. Still no 3rd land drop. Boggemes will play a fetch land. It's land number 4. Fetches a 16. Call that 14. Grabs Hollowed Fountain.
All right, does fetch up the blue mana. See if he has Oko, Thief of Crowns, as the play for the turn. Seems like.
Oko Giver.
He's casting this now when the shields are down. Last turn, Ross had Mox Opal and 2 untapped artifacts. That could have potentially signified a Metallic Rebuke. And you saw Boggemes pause. He had a bait spell with the Giver of Runes last turn, right?
The Dustwatch Recruiter.
The Dustwatch Recruiter, Noble Hierarch, excuse me.
Yeah.
So he had a bait spell with Noble Hierarch, and then followed up with kind of a second base spell in Dustwatch Recruiter, but he couldn't play anything else that turn. Ross doesn't bite, but is highly incentivized to go ahead and play and explode the Engineer Explosives. Looks like he does have a Galvanic Blast in hand, but guess what? Oko ain't got 4 loyalty, son. He's got 6.
Nothing can destroy Oko.
Except more Okos. It's an army, or sorry, it's a war of escalation. Where it's just whoever has the most Okos wins.
Only person that can stop a bad guy with an Oko is a good guy with an Oko.
Would you believe me if I told you that's not the second time I've heard that joke?
It's probably like the 7th or something.
It's a lot.
It's not a good joke.
It's not.
It's derivative of a I'm not even going to go into it. Waterlogged Grove is land number 3.
There it is.
For Ross Merriam.
Waterlogged Grove. One
Seeing
that we see in this deck
what
a
he
lot.
can do against the mighty Oko and the
lot.
Grizzly Bear Dustwatch Recruiter.
It's the first time I've ever seen a Waterlogged Grove in this deck. In this style of deck, the Urza deck.
Teamer decks are fancy.
You do. Gotta get a little fancy. You
You
know,
gotta.
he should have 1 Savage Knuckleblade in the sideboard.
No.
Because you can play it,
Stop.
pump it, and give it haste.
I hate.
And
I hate.
probably still not kill the Oko because they have a chump blocker.
No. Also, it's turn 1,000.
Your turn 1,000.
That doesn't mean anything.
Engineer Explosives for 0 just to turn on Mox Opal. Ross going to cast Urza. High Lord Artificer. Lord High Artificer, excuse me. It's basically backwards for no reason.
So that's a way to potentially pressure the Oko. We'll see what Boggemes can do to turn up the heat. Just activating Duskwatch Recruiter here. That's not scary.
It isn't. It's not. You're right.
It's the least scary werewolf I've ever seen.
Some werewolves are about value. Most of them about eating people,
Yeah.
turning more people into werewolves.
Werewolf values.
Dust Watch Recruiter likes to get some value.
Yeah.
He's recruiting, Anybody else want to come play?
Do you know the name of the transform side of Duskwatch Recruiter?
Kraken Horde Howler?
Crowlin Horde Howler.
Crowlin Horde Howler, even worse.
It's like Noble Hierarch was picked up off the Recruiter. We see Razorverge Thicket tapped. Now, Boggemes can think if he wants to transform the Recruiter or not. The backside is just kind of a 3-3, so cast the Noble Hierarch to stop that from happening.
Probably does not want it active because he wants to... oh, wow, this is kind of nice.
It's like a trade being proposed.
Food for Urza, thank you.
It's a good trade.
That's like the classic trade binder guy with the backpack, right? Here, you can have this crawl worm. It's really large, and I'm going to take that dual land. It's worthless.
Doesn't you have basics?
Yeah.
You can cast your spells.
Yeah. Why would you want to work this old land like Tundra when you can have a crawl worm? It goes right into your big green dumb deck. You big dummy.
Let's see what Merriam can do to get out of this. Galvanic Blast on Giver of Runes.
Has to do it on Giver because has basically no other choice. Giver can protect all of the other creatures.
It's his plan for the Oko then.
I don't know. Maybe he was planning on just trying to attack it down with the construct, but Giver Rune specifically has the ability to give protection from colorless, which is odd, but also important in this situation because that construct is colorless.
Yeah, one of a couple ways that Giver of Runes is strictly different from Mother of Runes, and it was pro-colorless on the Noble Hierarch.
Yep. Heads up play by Boggemes just to make sure he has basically a free blocker. It seems like a desperation play from Ross to sacrifice the Waterlog Grove, but does actually have a second Galvanic Blast in hand he can deploy to kill the Oko, but that'll leave him relatively vulnerable to the Infinite Mana combo in a turn or two if Boggemes is able to find it with the Recruiter and cast him.
Here's a Mishra's Bauble. Takes a look at the top card of Boggemes' library. Mishra's Bauble, approximately the 8th most expensive uncommon in Modern.
Approximately.
There's Galvanic Blast on Oko. Oko down. And pass the turn. You gonna draw for that Bauble, Ross? Ooh.
He didn't. A GG.
Ooh.
I'm going to hound him on that one.
I'm very good at remembering Bauble triggers. I offer tutoring, Ross.
Here's the thing about missing Bauble triggers, though, right?
Yeah.
You don't really know when you miss them. That's kind
Well,
of the whole thing.
Ross is gonna know. Ross is about to know.
He's gonna
Ross
know.
is about to know.
Oh, he's gonna. He's gonna regale me with the whole. Now I'm gonna go over there and be like, "What? So, tell me what was going through your head during this whole game, right?" He's gonna get to this point in the game, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah," and you missed your Bauble trigger, and he's just gonna stop and be like, "Ah!"
The long con.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's worth listening to a Ross story right there, just for that one moment of realization.
It's like Duskwatch Recruiter is attacking right into that construct. What gives?
We'll see.
See an activation of Recruiter, finding Devoted Druid.
It's a 3/3, so if he has a disenchant, no, it's a 4/4. Oh, he poofs it.
Oko.
Yeah. It's now a 3/3, and then it dies because it has 3 damage on it. So that's cool.
Yeah, that'll play. I think Ross wondering where his Bauble card is.
Yeah, it's gone.
There it is.
What was it? Was it good? What about the next one? Is that one good? Let's take a peek. God, I just want to go yell at him right now. I can't wait.
Stomping Ground tapped. Land number 3 finally shows up, but that is not at all what Ross wanted. And get an update. Steven Dykman did tie things up on the back table, so this is a deciding game 3 for the full match.
Oh, man. This Urza can just spin at will, too. Oh, and he can get infinite mana, and then he can just spin the Urza infinity times. He doesn't need the Deathwatch Recruiter.
Ooh, nice.
And he already has a Devoted Druid. He already has a Ballista. That's less fun.
Here's a Ranger Captain grabbing Ballista.
Now, Ballista here, just as its own thing, is actually kind of cool. At any point next turn, also, Boggemes can just sacrifice the Ranger Captain, and then Ross just can't play a counterspell for the rest of the turn. So that's cool. He also gets to make a food token with Oko, then use that plus the land to cast as Devoted Druid thanks to the Urza's mana ability, which is pretty sweet. Looks like he's choosing not to cast it, though. Doesn't want to expose it to a removal spell. And interestingly enough, Ross's last card in hand is that Galvanic Blast. So really, really great play here from Boggemes. He's super far ahead.
Yeah. Really far ahead, figures that there's not much that can go wrong, and he just plays just really tightly. Here's a Mishra's Bauble from Ross.
You saw he smiled when he drew it, right? He knew.
Yeah.
He knows he missed.
All right, he's going to draw this time. Heads up play by Merriam.
Just spin the Urza. Just spin it. Also exposes on 0, lol. Right? There's 4 0-mana artifacts on this side.
It's a lot of 0-mana
It's
artifacts.
Funny. It's funny to me. What do you want from me? I'm just making conversation.
I'm sorry, I can't force myself to laugh.
Okay. Wow. All right. Jeez.
Here's an attack for 7.
You just broke me.
Merriam down to 7.
Right. Yeah, Ross is going to have a real tough time getting out of this one. Next card on top of the deck's got to be something.
You know, before I started working with you, I was well known for my high energy levels.
Well, you know what they say. If you can't beat them, join them. And you know me, I'm always on that low energy level, and you're just really fitting right in, you know, I appreciate it, man.
You're at about a 2 right now, and I need you at about a 4.
All right, I can get out 4. Sounds about right.
There's a spin of the Urza. I know how much you've always wanted a spin of the Urza. Finds Horizon Canopy.
I just wanted an infinite mana spin the Urza, but the Ranger Captain of Eos found him the Ballista, so there's no real need.
Yeah, the infinite spin of the Urza only finds you Shalai. You can't infinite spin Urza into Ballista, because you have to cast it as a 0.
No, but that finds you the Dust Watch or whatever. You know, it lets you play your whole deck. Is what
playing your whole deck's pretty nice.
Well, you could also play it for 0 and then find the Witness and get it back out the graveyard.
You can do that.
Smart guy. Mr. Smarty Pants.
A goose.
Oh, we're doing it. Ross, ma'am, you're dead. You're gonna die.
God.
Bringing it back.
Oko to 9. Hierarch in elk mode. Attack you for lethal. All right, sack a food token. Smart.
I'll be at 3.
Maybe block the Urza too.
I'll be at 4.
Yeah. Shalai in hand for Boggemes. Pretty easy to make that one lethal. I guess Merriam has a food token and a flying blocker. But not really anything going on. This is nowhere near as good as what Merriam did in Game 1. Why didn't he just draw Experimental Frenzy again?
Yeah, should have just drawn the best card in the deck, apparently. Oh, man, that's hot.
Finale for Burrington Forge Tender.
No, he finale'd for the Ranger Captive Eos out of the graveyard and used that to find Burnt and Forge Tender.
That's better than what I said.
It is quite good.
Merriam will draw. I believe an Urza picked up?
Yeah, that's a hot one. I don't know if it's good enough because Kyle can just steal it again.
Yeah, Oko not shy on loyalty. I think it's kind of a flavor fail to make a thief so loyal. I don't buy that.
Well, he's only loyal to himself, though, right?
He's loyal to whoever makes a food token and controls him.
It's good to be king, baby. Took me a while to realize that the crown he stole was actually Kinrith's. And then he turned Kinrith into a friggin' frog.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's like the whole princess and the frog, I guess, or whatever. I don't know.
Something like that.
Who knows? Turn 0. You know what the coolest part about these decks is that there's just so many permanents to deal with and keep up with, keep track of.
Big fan of making Oko elk overlays.
Big fan of banning Oko in every format and burning every copy in existence.
Unprint it.
Unprint 2019 challenge.
But keep Lavadart in modern.
Yeah, no. Actually, honestly, give me all of Modern Horizons. That's fine.
Yeah, Forgotten Cave, you can stay.
Yeah, love it.
Oko of Merriam's own makes that explosives he would never want to crack into an elk. That makes sense.
Now we're doing three-headed giant, where all three teammates try to come up with the best line since we're in turns. Trying to figure out the easiest way to close this game. I cannot imagine. Ross doesn't have an infinite combo in his deck. I cannot imagine that Boggemes is going to lose this game. To me, it is completely centered on whether or not Ross is able to not die and get a draw.
Walking Ballista as a 3/3. Looks like a trade happening with Oko. Noble Hierarch being offered. Conversation over whether to grab an elk or an Urza. They take the elk. And at that, Merriam will pick them up. Yeah, tapped Hierarch's not a blocker, so it looks like some combination of at least the Force Tender gets in, and then the Ballista closes the game from there is what I'm seeing.
Yeah,